Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research from around the world. In October 2023, archaeologists announced new discoveries from the 11 to 12,000 year old sites of Karahan Tepe and Göbekli Tepe, both of which are located in the southeastern Anatolia region of Turkey. Just a few weeks ago, I made a video discussing the finds, including a large sitting human statue, as well as an associated statue of a vulture. These two discoveries were made inside a newly excavated enclosure at Karahan Tepe, near the top of the hill. But in this video, I'm going to take a closer look at the new discovery from Gobekli Tepe, because it was truly a special, unique find, and it changed everything we thought we knew about art at this pre-pottery Neolithic site. The architecture of Gobekli Tepe may not have originally been this beige limestone colour we see in pictures and videos. No, the site's intricate carvings may have actually been painted. Earlier this year, a life-size wild boar statue was found inside the special building labelled D. And amazingly, it had residues of red, black and white pigment still on the statue's surface. This apparently makes it one of the earliest painted statues ever discovered. The boar was found on the northern side of the enclosure. It's made of limestone, is a whopping 1.35 metres long with a maximum height of 0.7 metres. According to archaeologists, it's believed to date to the early pre-pottery Neolithic B, which is between 10,200 and 10,700 years ago, a date that I assume must come from the fill surrounding the statue or beneath it, or maybe from mortar between the stonework it stands on. Maybe the pigmentation itself has been dated. At the minute, that part is not clear. As I discussed in a previous video, organic matter from wall plaster and charcoal in the walls of Enclosure D place its construction in the pre-pottery Neolithic A, dating to between 11,314 and 11,745 years ago. This is interesting because although we don't know exactly how old the boar statue is, because we can't directly date stone, the dates being discussed show that Enclosure D was in use for many hundreds of years, around 600 years at a minimum. The boar was found standing on a bench between Pillar 43, the famous vulture stone, and Pillar 78, and directly in front of Pillar 67. Pillar 67 is positioned perpendicular to the neighbouring perimeter pillars so that it's facing the centre of Enclosure D. Until recently, this pillar was only partially excavated. Here we can see an old photograph of archaeologist Jens Nottroff excavating this part of the enclosure many years ago, but he had stopped just above the wild boar. In Pillar 67, there is a hole running through it, and there looks to be snakes in low relief on its face. It's hard to see exactly what's being portrayed, as the available pictures are just not clear enough. The top of the pillar looks like it's broken, and directly behind the boar, the lower half of the pillar also looks to be worn. Interestingly, it looks as though there's a fox's head beneath the snakes, but its body has been eroded away. I wonder if this is an old T-shaped pillar, maybe reused in the later pre-pottery Neolithic B to create a new centrepiece in the enclosure. The hole certainly looks to be a later addition, as we can see it cuts through the design. The hole could have once supported a wooden pole, and I don't think it was any kind of sightstone to look through, because it's situated below ground level in the semi-subterranean enclosure. As we can see from this view, there is no doubt that the large boar statue was the clear focal point of the enclosure, and must have been significant to the prehistoric people that used it. The bench the boar is sitting on is also of interest, because it looks like another older reused pillar, this time turned horizontally. older pillars have also been used as benches at the nearby Karahan Tepe, and I guess this isn't surprising because of how long these enclosures were in use for. The fact that both pillar 67 and the bench pillar look to be reused, and the fact the boar is resting on the bench, and the fact that archaeologists date the boar to the early pre-pottery Neolithic B indicates that it is unlikely this whole feature of the enclosure is original, but was created in the enclosure's later history. We see another reused T-shaped pillar to the right of the boar, and as we can see, this too has a hole running through it. Being placed into the wall and on its side, it looks to have been a repair job, maybe to shore up the perimeter wall. The reuse of pillars at Gobekli Tepe is an important thing to note, because whilst many of us spend time trying to understand the possible function of the special buildings at Gobekli Tepe, throughout their long history, we do have to consider they may have had multiple uses. For example, in the modern era, some churches in Britain have been renovated into apartments, and the same can be said for old lighthouses, shops, and so on. The Great Hall of the Norman Castle in my hometown of Leicester became a courthouse in later history. Since these structures were erected, they therefore have had many different uses over time, and so the same could be said for the enclosures of Gobekli Tepe. Maybe originally they were storehouses for food and were turned into meeting places, and maybe even turned into homes. Right now we just don't know how they were used, and if that use changed over the hundreds of years they were active. On the front side of this bench, we can also see decoration, and from left to right, these are said to be low reliefs of an H symbol, a crescent, 2 snakes and also 3 human faces or masks. The human faces are extremely hard to see on the available pictures, and so I'd love to see a clearer image, or see it up close and in person. I actually think that these are the remnants of the faces right here. But as well as the boar's positioning inside the enclosure, the associated bench and pillar behind it, as well as the statue's enormous size, it's the paint residue that is arguably the most exciting aspect of this new discovery. The tongue of the wild boar was coloured red, and black and white pigment were found on the body, and likely used for the animal's fur. Experts have long presumed that pigments played a role in the decoration of pre-pottery Neolithic statues and T-shaped pillars, but without evidence it's always been an assumption, an opinion, and it's not a wild idea because humans were painting throughout the Ice Age, as seen in the many cave systems in Europe. But now we have unequivocal archaeological evidence of paint use at Gobekli Tepe, and it changes the entire perception of this incredible ancient site. Instead of these beige limestone structures, can you imagine if all of the animal motifs, the anthropomorphic pillars and statues were painted? The special purpose buildings could potentially have been colourful, bright, vibrant and inviting places. As always with these amazing pre-pottery Neolithic sites, new excavations are revealing new discoveries, and they can completely change the way we view these ancient settlements, as well as the people that lived inside them. Gobekli Tepe has already given us so much, but I still think there is a hell of a lot more to come. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.